Hello, I'm Jessica.
And I am Brian. We wanted to come on here before the video really gets started and tell you that in this video there is a lot of sadness, but there is also a lot of joy.
Yes, and there's hope, and that's the most important piece, I think. And I think one of the reasons we like to share this kind of content with you guys is to know that if you're going through something similar or you've been through something similar, you're not alone, and there's still hope in the world, and we are still praying for our miracle. But I think let's just get into it. All right, I'm about to go stab Tess, so let me see the needle. You have to get this whole needle in there?
Yeah. In one swoop.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Good.
Does that hurt?
No.
That doesn't hurt?
No. How was it, Jessica?
It was intense. I had it. You just have to go for it. You know, you just have to like
Yeah,
you can't hesitate. You can't
it didn't hurt any more than when Jeff does it. So yay, good job.
I have succeeded in putting progesterone oil into your bum. Are you excited?
Woo!
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ready for that embryo?
Yep, let's do this.
Are you nervous?
Oh yeah, why?
How nervous are you?
Oh, very.
Oh yeah, actually it is.
What are you nervous about, Brian?
Everything. I'm nervous about all of it.
Are you gonna make it?
I have to. Not like I can just stop time. Like, I mean, like I have no control over anything at this point.
No? None of us do.
It is what it is. You just got to go through it.
Brian, you are loved.
So
Loved.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the part of the video that's difficult to talk about. In that room, you saw us awaiting the embryo transfer. We were just waiting to be told it was time for us to go back and do the transfer. And, you know, there was a lot of laughs in that room, a lot of joy, some anxiousness, of course, but we were all just really hopeful and ready to move forward with the process. That kind of all turned a little bit darker when the embryologist came in the room to talk to us. A little bit of backstory. We had 3 total embryos from the 2 rounds of egg retrieval that we did. before I had my hysterectomy and, had everything removed. Ovaries gone. The only one we got from the first round was a girl, and it was Elsie.
Mm-hmm.
From the second round, we got 2 viable embryos for transfer, a boy and a girl.
Mm-hmm.
We decided after much talking back and forth that we were going to proceed with the male embryo as the next transfer. They use a lot of quality assessments to figure out what the best embryos to transfer would be, but you can also just pick. We actually asked the doctors repeatedly, like, which would they pick? And they said that they were so similar in quality, there wouldn't really be, it would kind of just be a toss-up.
Yeah.
So we figured, you know what? We have a girl, let's go for the boy next.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when the embryologist came in the room, very quickly, and not I don't want to say nonchalantly, but like just,
you know how doctors are, like sometimes they really they pull the Band-Aid off as fast as possible.
The words that came out were just, hey, so we thawed this male embryo and
it didn't make it.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
It was degrading very fast, they said.
The cells, they used the word necrosis.
Yeah.
Just like cell death.
Yeah.
They showed us a picture. They showed us these little like bubbles around it that kind of were forming.
Yeah.
We both decided we didn't want to include those pictures as part of this video.
We still have them though.
We still have them and we will keep them, but we didn't really want to put them on here. It's weird because when you get pregnant, normally, you don't know that early on if it's going to be a boy or a girl. You don't know before you try. You have no control over that. You don't know leading into like trying to get pregnant and build your family. Like,
yeah,
you could have 5 girls all in a row and like, I've seen families where it's like, they're like, okay, we're going to get our boy or we're going to get our girl. And they're on like their 6th kid. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
The difference with us is that these embryos were all made, it'll be 3 years in July since they were made. And we've had almost 3 years to imagine that family in our heads.
Yeah.
To imagine having 2 girls and a boy.
Yep.
We also knew that, the success rates with embryo transfers, like resulting in a live birth, like the average that you hear is like 65%. So I have said so many times.
Yeah.
You've said like, I want all 3. And I've said.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you don't want one of them to not work out, but I've said a million times, the odds are 2 of the 3 will work.
Yeah.
And if we succeed in those odds, like, we are so fortunate. We're already so fortunate. One of them were like,
yeah.
We have Elsie. And Elsie is like just joy packaged up in human form. She is like just absolutely the light of our lives. And that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. But would we love to give her a sibling? Yes, absolutely. And in that moment, when the embryologist came in and said, hey, we thawed this embryo out just so you know it didn't work. Like, it's not going to work. We lost the chance to have a biological son. Like, that was our one shot.
I wasn't necessarily like in a moment of grief, like grieving the loss of a son, because I understand it's an embryo. It's not like I had a baby and lost it, or had a son and he died. Like I lost the potential. I lost the future where that child existed. And that made me very sad. It made me, like I said, it was just a straightforward grieving process of trying to figure out, like, okay, so that entire possibility has been removed from my future. And I needed a moment to sort of wrap my head around that. Fortunately, Jeff was there to sort of step up and kind of be the man at the time that I needed him to be. I needed him to be sort of the father and take care of some stuff, because I was spiraling at that moment. But like I said, we were there and we all collectively started figuring out what to do.
Yeah. So obviously we had a lot of questions. It's like, okay, so it's the cells are degrading. Can this turn around? What are the odds?
Have you ever seen it turn around?
Have you seen it turn around? Have you transferred an embryo with this status and it's worked? Like,
what is the percentage of the possibility of it surviving?
Yeah, how do we know? How do we know when we don't want to give up on, the potential if it's there? And we've had this discussion, like, when people tell us the odds are small, we're like, okay, well, let me tell you a story like about everything that we've been through.
To quote Han Solo, never tell me the odds.
Like, if there's a glimmer of hope there,
yeah,
I will hang on to it, because that is how we've gotten through these last few years, is hanging on to the hope and being told odds and facing them and saying, you know what, those are the odds, but those are not our odds.
Yeah.
Like, those are, and so obviously, it's in my head, it's like, okay, are we going from 65% to 50%? Are we going to 40%? Like, what are we talking here? And, the embryologist went away and was like, let me go, I'll go check. I'll give you guys time to talk.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was the doctor came in and told us that the embryo, they brought in another picture and you could see clearly
it had degraded even more in that time.
Yeah. And the doctor that was in there, like, she literally runs this practice. She's been doing this for like 30 years or whatever she said. Like, she's seen it all. And she said her guess would be that it's like 5% odds of that embryo, of the male embryo at the state that it was in,
reforming,
of working or anything, if we did a transfer. Less than 5%, like not even 5%. Yeah.
We kind of came to a conclusion after talking with that doctor, because they said if by some miracle the male embryo does reform, they would check it the next day, and if it had survived, they would refreeze it, and then we could do a transfer later on at some point.
Yeah. The weird thing that they actually kept bringing up is like, okay, do you want to go ahead and try to thaw out you have one more embryo, do you want to thaw that one out? And they were like, we know that one is a female embryo, and we're like, well, wait, why would it matter? Like, that's our, like, to me, it didn't matter. Like, no. And I realized looking back that some of the people in the room didn't realize that, like, that was not only was that our final embryo, but like, we don't have the ability to make any more embryos.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who are in fertility situations, like, they could still at least try maybe to make another embryo, but we don't have that option. So like, I don't know, maybe there are people out there who are just dead set on getting a male or a female. Like, that was never the case with us. It was just like, trying to pick the order, like, is just, again, I feel like it's control you shouldn't have, but it all came back to actually make sense now why we did things in the order that we did. And it was all meant to happen that way. We're going for that last embryo. Let's thaw it out. Let's see what it looks like and give it the best chance we can.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, how long does that take? Can you just like thaw it out right now? Like, and they're like, oh yeah, it only takes a minute. I was thinking it was like this big process or something.
I had no idea.
They thaw out that embryo. They come back in the room.
Within minutes.
And they're like, it's beautiful.
They're like, yep. They're like, she's gorgeous. Like, it was...
They brought in the picture and they were just like...
And it was amazing, too, because it was just such a perfect, clear photo of everything, to which then made us do the comparison with Elsie, who refused to stay still when they were trying to take her photo.
Yeah, Elsie's embryo photo is blurry, which is like so like a testament to what she is. She's so blurry. She's all over.
She's just all over the place.
But they gave us this beautiful picture of this healthy embryo, and we all just knew that, like, you know, that was this was what was meant to be. And it's the male embryo was never going to work out. Like, it didn't matter when we thought it or anything like that. Like, it was that's what was going to happen
no matter what.
So, you know, I think we actually ended up talking to the embryologist, and I was like, which one would you have actually picked? Because the doctor said it would be a toss-up. But she said because the male embryo was actually at day 6 and the female was at day 5, even though like some of the other qualities were like a little bit lower on the female than the male based on how they assess it.
Yeah.
She said they actually would always pick a day 5 over a day 6. And so they would have picked the female if we left it up to them. Well, then we would have done the female transfer and then had all this hope that we could still do this last transfer, or if the female didn't work out, like, you know, we'd have all this hope banked in this last one, and then we would have thought it, and the embryo wouldn't have made it past that thawing stage. Also, it's just so much less heartache for it to have not made it past the, you know, when they thought it out, because it could have also been like fine and then transferred into Tess, and then we lost it. For the more days you get along, you know, the more you try not to become attached to these embryos, because they're embryos. Like, they're not, you know, you try not to become attached to it, but you can't help but become attached to the idea, that potential that he can build. Like, I actually, in my head, I can't imagine it like the way he can. He can build these clear pictures in his head of what it's going to look like. Of course, it's not going to look exactly like that. No. But he can imagine and dream these scenarios. Yeah. And paint these pictures in his head. And you can't help but fall in love with the idea of those pictures that you see in your head. And he can speak them to me, and I can dream about it. Like, it reminds me of one of our favorite songs is Lindsey Buckingham's song "Shut Us Down," and it's like, oh, you and I, we sure can dream of conversations that might have been. Like, that song plays in my head every time I think about it, because it's like just having this. There's so many things in life that you can dream of what would have happened if this happened that way, or that, you know, happened the other way. Yeah. But I believe that it all falls in line the way it's meant to fall. Yeah. And I believe that, you know, whatever reason, we were meant to pick the male embryo first, because it saved us like a lot of heartache in the long run. Yeah. There were a lot of tears shed in that room. Honestly, like, watching the footage of us in the room beforehand is extremely emotional, because it's like, oh, you silly people, like, you don't know what's about to happen.
Once again.
I also want to point out, though, like, we understand that we're so blessed to have this opportunity at all. And so even if none of this works out, we are still blessed. And we still, like, I mean, if we had done all 3 embryos and ended up with like no children, it would have been devastating. But the reality is that happens to so many people out there.
Happens to so many people.
And there's so many people who go through so much more than even we've gone through with this. You know, we're coming at this from the cancer led us to the infertility side, but there's so many people who struggle for years and years, and so many stories that you hear. Yeah. And it just, it's heartbreaking to think about going through. Like we met a couple when we were in the lobby one of the times at the fertility clinic who had gone through so much. And to imagine, like, just with all, you know, failed transfer attempts and all these things, and it's heartbreaking. But I think the other important thing to point out is we're still allowed to feel sad about our situation. And this is something I'm trying to tell to people out there too. I'm not just telling us that, but just because your heartache isn't as bad as someone else's heartache doesn't mean you don't get to feel it.
Pain isn't a competition.
Yeah, you can still feel it and be empathetic for them. And, you know, it's not a competition. But then there's still so much joy that we are feeling right now. It's so weird because we are so hopeful. And this is my favorite part of this whole process is when they take you in that room. Yeah. And on that big screen, they pull up your little embryo, and there it is in all its glory.
Tiny, tiny little thing.
Tiny little thing.
And they take that little thingamabob and
the little vacuum and
suck it right up into it, and then, you know, they take it on over and they show you on the ultrasound. They're like, this is where we're going to put it, and then they just inject it right in. And there's a little flash of light right there.
And I was so happy because last time they didn't allow Jeff, Tess's husband, to be in the room with us. I think it was like leftover kind of like post-COVID protocol, but that they were really limiting. Yeah. But it was so amazing to be able to have him in there because he's such a part of this all. Like, as much as we've gone through so much together, the four of us. And I think at one point when we were making discussions of like what we were going to do with the embryo and everything like that, you know, I don't know if it was Tess or somebody had said, hey, do you guys want us to step out so you guys can discuss this? And we were like, no. Like,
we started this as a group.
Yeah.
We ended as a group. The four of us are family, no matter what. Yeah. And so we needed the collective to come together and make decisions about what to do. And I think that we did exactly what we were supposed to do. Yes. We got that beautiful little girl embryo and we transferred it in, and now we wait.
Yes. But should we roll that amazing footage now?
Yes.
To show them how beautiful that moment was.
So look right where Elise is pointing. The count of 3. 1, 2, 3. There it is. You saw that flash? Mm-hmm. That was beautiful. I'm gonna take the catheter out. You see how that white flash there is remaining? Mm-hmm. That is the fluid containing the embryo.
So there it was. There was the process of putting that little embryo into Tess. And right now, hopefully, she's got herself attached and she's starting to grow and she's starting to get bigger. And hopefully, we'll find out very soon if that is the case. Yes. And if our little girl is on the path to become a tiny little baby that we can take on home with us and have her grow up alongside Elsie. And
Tess, her official pregnancy test will be on May 2nd to see if she's pregnant. But right now I'm playing like she's pregnant until proven otherwise. I'm sure she might try to sneak in a few pregnancy tests before that date, because I think that's like day 8 or 9 or something, and when they'll do the test, I think day 8. I don't know the blood test, but yeah, it I know around like day 5 or so with certain pregnancy tests you can start to see like a little line here and there.
Yeah. Once again, no matter what happens, I'm content. I am happy because I've already got a blessing. I've already been blessed, and I will be eternally grateful that I have that blessing in my life, no matter what.
Yes.
The loss of the possible loss of this other embryo will not detract at all from the gift that I've received already.
Yeah.
That we've received already.
But if it all works out,
then we have
just
2 beautiful little
amazing girls. And it would be just an absolute, you can't, it's indescribable. And it's just like, you think about like being grateful for the science that makes it possible, the people who went before and figured all this out, like for all of that, for the miracles, for Tess, for, her whole family, for putting up with all of our shenanigans. Me and Tess's shenanigans. We're always up to something. But no, just for like, just to be grateful for all of it.
Yeah.
But we did hold our little girl a little bit tighter after that emotional day,
That's
few
true.
Days that we went through. So, but we should probably close this video.
Yeah. I'm not going to do my typical spiel. If you guys are so inclined, please leave a comment, of something.
Pray for us.
Pray for us, please.
Send good vibes if you're not a praying type.
Yeah.
Send good thoughts our way.
You can also do that on social media stuff, Facebook and Instagram. Leave a comment, send a message, whatever. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to hear from some folks who have gone through a similar situation or know someone who did. Drop their story down there too, because I think that for other people that are going through this process who haven't had these types of things happen, and they see those kinds of stories, they read those comments, and it really does make them feel like, oh, like this is something, I'm not alone in this at all. Like the grief, the joy, the hope, all of it, all of those really strong emotions that can come up. Like nobody goes through it alone. There's somebody else out there who went through the same thing. And so we would love to hear from you guys who have had something like that happen. And if you've never gone through that and you've never had that, never known anybody that did anything like that, drop a comment just saying, hey, you did the best you could or something like that. But I think that's all I got.
That's definitely all I got. And my stomach is growling too.
You're very hungry.
If you guys can hear the growling, which hopefully you can, it's me.
But we will see you next time on Crocs in the Kitchen.
Yes.
Bye.
We can make a heart.
Heart.
That's for our little girl.
Horrible little heart, but sure.
I love you.
I love you.
Good.
Good. 41.